What's going on, guys? So we got a 2015 Ford Escape 1.6 turbo. Customer complaints are basically two of them or three. One of them we're not going to worry about. That's just the tire pressure monitor system. The other code was for the notorious heater valve, which is known to be a high failure item right there. So I just replaced that. I don't know, 10-minute job. Somebody suggested that you remove just the top part of it by removing the Torx bit, like a T20 Torx, and just yank out the top of it and just, maybe that's a faster method, but customer pay for a new part. If it's my own car, I don't mind that method, but customer car. So anyway, the other side of the problem is she was using her seat to recline and then he got stuck, can't come back. I tried it a few times, wasn't working, so I went online. I got my wiring diagram and I see which one was the problem. Basically, the recliner here, going forward and backward, that was the problem. So I identified the two wires that you're going to need to mess with to kind of test it, see if the motor is good or if the switch has an issue. I'm not sure if you can do this operation using a scan tool. Maybe that's a possibility. I didn't even try. So anyway, so I popped the cover off. It's right there. It's just T20 right here and another T20 in the back here somewhere. And then everything else kind of like lift up a little bit. You see the slot? So you lift it up and then, kind of pull it towards yourself. When you do that, then you have this connector connected to this right here, which is a switch, and the switch goes into that right there. So just some tabs all around it. Just kind of pry it up and use the tabs. Pull the tabs up and lift up on the switch itself, and that should take care of that. Anyway, so like I said, on this particular model, the two wires that we need to, according to the diagram, which I will post a picture of, for the recliner, only the recliner. I'm not dealing with anything else. That's going to be this white wire with the brown trace and this purple wire with the brown trace. So pin number, let me see if I can see anything here, 8 and 11. So pin 8 and pin 11, this is back probing basically, pin 8 and pin 11. That's what you want. That's going to be power and ground, and they switch polarity, and they will do this way or that way. Alright, so now I'm going to show you what we're going to do to prove to ourselves whether this is good or not. If we have a switch problem or we have a motor problem, that's all we're testing. Motor or wiring problem, but mainly, yeah. So anyway, I'm just going to press power, and guess what? There you go. So we know our motor is excellent, it's good, no problem with the motor. So our problem is definitely going to be with the switch. 100% proof right there. That's about it. So I'm going to just leave it like this for the customer to be at least able to. She's in good shape, so I'm pretty sure she don't need much recline, when she drives. So I think this probably will be almost perfect for her. Me, I'm a little bit older, a little bit more in doubt around the waist, so I like to drive with a little bit of forgiveness around there. But a lot of people drive with this side really straight, and people are comfortable like that, even though I'm not. Anyway, yeah. So that's that. We proved that definitely we got a bad switch, and that's all I wanted to show you how to test it. So hopefully you can mimic it. Okay. 2014 Malibu 2.5 VVT actuators, oil pressure sensor. This was for P055B as in boy, and according to service info, this pressure sensor here, they got two of them. There's one in the black and there's one here. But for the P055B, that would be the one that you need to change right there. I also had some other codes relating to the VVT actuators, and when I pulled off the connectors, they were full of oil. So there you have it. And they were by Dorman, by the way. So the dealer costs actually less than Dorman part. I don't know why people buying Dorman for this. It's insane to me. Anyway, so what's going on, guys? I know it's been a while. Been pretty busy in the winter, kind of cold to be actually filming while I'm working outside, so I really do not like the cold weather, so I try to make things as quick as possible. Anyway, today I thought this was interesting enough to try to make a video out of this thing. I'm still in the process of trying to diagnose this car. This is a box truck, 1999 Isuzu NPR with the 5.7 liter Chevy engine. So first big hurdle is the lack of information about the Isuzu cars. I don't know why, but I couldn't find anything. Even the VIN number input on Identifix would not yield any results at all. So I was left basically in the lurch. All of the fixes that they had pertain to a Chevy. I guess because of the Chevy engine, but the wiring is different. So really, so far it's been useless trying to follow anything. There's no wiring diagrams available that I can see. It's just complete blindsided here trying to diagnose this car. So finally what I've done is, this is the fuse box, and the VCM here is basically the PCM. It's a vehicle control module. So this would be the computer of the car, which is right there under the steering column, or next to the steering column to the left of it. And this is not getting powered. This fuse is 20 ampere right there, number 3. So 1, 2, 3, 20 ampere right there, no power. So what I've done, basically I've jumped the fuse. This is after being here digging around and checking various other things for about half an hour and basically going in circles. So I decided, let me just jump the fuse, see if the car will start. Lo and behold, I jumped it, the car started. So we know that this is our main focus here. We're going to focus on here right now, trying to figure out how we can even figure it out without the wiring schematic to see where the power is going to stem from. The customer basically showed me a Google search that he'd done, and this was Master Tech Isuzu, and says basically that it's got basically one sentence, 2 lines. It just says that basically, I guess that is tied to the ignition switch. Power to the PCM or the VCM is tied to the check engine light, which is in check engine light bulb, which is in a dash, right? And the check engine light, of course, has to be illuminated if the ignition switch is illuminating this cluster. The cluster doesn't work at this point. That's another situation. So without a wiring schematic, you're like, okay, what do we do? I have no power going to the cluster. I don't know how the cluster even, is getting powered. Where's the power, or the ground, where's it coming from? Is there a specific fuse? I check all of the fuses. None of them are blown. So, basically just at a dead end at this point. I know how to, make it start to where I can tie it to a, fuse that only comes on when, for example, you're in the on position. And then when you turn it off, that fuse will just turn off. That's what I told the customer. But then again, you have none of this function will work inside here, the dash. No speedometer, no, check. I'm not even sure if this is going to work. Maybe it may work. But anyway, so that's where I'm at right now. So I just uncovered the ignition switch. As you can see, looks pretty basic. We got like 1, 2, 3, 4 different wires going to it. So I'm just going to randomly test these wires. I'm going to have my power probe, and I'm going to test if I'm getting powered on all of these wires, what's going on, trying to figure out the circuitry. And, at some point, I'm going to have to write to request the schematics for this one. It's going to take some time, a couple of days, before you get a response from Identifix. But in the meantime, because this is a moving truck that the person has here, so I told them, worst comes to worst, you could just use it. The way I'm going to rig it, you can drive the car or the truck until I get the schematics, and I can actually now delve into it and diagnose it properly. And we're going to figure out if we need to get yourself a new switch here, which shouldn't be a lot to deal with. It's only one screw right here at the top, I believe, and that's about it. And then the switch will come out, and then, but I don't know if it is. This is all solder inside of here, so I'm not even sure what the switch will look like, honestly, because I hope we don't have to solder these things again. That would be very stupid. So hopefully there's a connector somewhere down here with the wiring, or maybe the black part stays and the white part, you can see, where we at? So the black part maybe it stays and the white part is the one that's getting replaced. I'm not sure. Like I said, I don't work on this type of truck. But he asked me, begged me basically to do it. So I told him I'll just come and look it up and see what we can find. But like I said, at least he started, you know. So we on to something here. So comment, let me know if you are, you know, if you're familiar with this type of vehicles and if that makes sense. Basically, that I know it makes sense on some Toyotas. Some Toyotas, the battery light that is in the dash is tied to this charging system. So if the battery light is out, basically the charging system would not work. Simple as that. So for this one to have a check engine light, the light itself, the light bulb is part of the circuit. And if the light bulb goes out, in this case, the whole cluster is out, that makes sense to me. And that will prevent the car from starting because there's no input going to, you know, could power the fuel that's going to power the computer. Then that makes sense. By the way, yeah, that's a no com right now because, you know, the 20 amp computer fuels, VCM fuels, it's not getting powered. So no communication. This is what I got left. I'm going to test it out off camera. I don't know how long it's going to take me to figure this thing out. So, and then after that, you know, we'll see. Worst scenario again, the car can still drive. I'll rig it to where the, you know, owner could drive the car for now and do his business while I'm getting the information, and we'll take it from there. But this is really, you know, sometimes you just wonder, why are you paying for service information? You should be having all the information if you're paying that much money, right? Okay, so I adjusted the ignition switch and it works properly. I didn't have any type of ignition problem. So you got a constant power on this wire right here, the white and black wire. Everything else basically has nothing, is grounded at the moment. When you turn it to the first, I guess, accessory mode, you will have power on this blue wire here. When you turn it to on position, then you have power to the black wire at the bottom here. And then when you're cranking it, you have power to this one right here. So all of that checked out. I have no issue with my ignition switch. I'm going to put this thing back together. As far as I can tell, that is Gucci. It's ready to go. So now, like I said, up until this point, unless there's another fuse box that I don't know of, because he's the one the owner showed me, that right there, relay box, and this fuse box. The other one is out there. It has nothing to do with what's going on here. So unless I can figure out if there's another fuse box here, you know, this is the end of the diagnosis. I have no information, but I know for sure, well, not for sure, but I really, it's a guesstimate that this cluster works, the car will work properly. So we got to focus on the cluster, how the cluster gets powered, how the cluster gets to grounds and everything else. This is where we need to be chasing now after. And unfortunately, again, I don't, you know what I mean, like, there's no wiring schematic for me to look at. So I'm just going to rig it for the customer to be able to drive this for now. And I will write to Identifix and request that they send me that information whenever I get it and go over it. And we're trying to wrap up this video and hopefully fix it permanently for the customer. All right, so we're back to the Frankenstein diagnostic channel. Man, oh man, oh man. So after doing this little rig here, I was still having an intermittent no start. Okay, so I checked the crack signal. I back probed on the Hall effect sensor here, 3-wire sensor, right? And I have my lab scope. Basically what was happening, I was losing my power when I was cranking it. The power would just go straight to ground. And because of that, I wasn't getting any type of signal. Now the signal is there. I mean, I can, just trying to get it a little bit bigger so you can see what I'm saying. Right there. Hopefully it'll come back. It may take some time. Right there. So there go my square wave signal. I know my scaling is off, but that's basically it. And my ground is still good, which is number, what is it, channel 2, right? So that's channel 2 right there. But the power, I was losing the power. So what I've done basically, I've jumped the power wire from there to battery ground, and the car started right up. So in the absence of wiring diagram and a proper fix for this problem, I'm gonna have to just do that permanently, just jump the problem. What's going on, guys? So today we're here trying to replace this strut on a 2018 Honda Pilot. So I'm just gonna I guess fast forward to the good parts. So of course, remove the wheel and whatnot, and then we'll see what's going on after that. Alright, from here we're gonna remove that fastener there for the brake hose. We're gonna remove the ABS/wheel speed sensor from those catches, and also from the spindle, because the spindle has to come down in order to allow for the strut to be free. We're gonna also remove the sway bar link from up top because it's already full of oil, so hopefully it won't give us a hard time coming off. We're also going to remove this nut or this bolt. This is a pinch bolt. It's actually holding things together. And from then, I might also have to kind of remove this axle nut, because I probably would need motion, tilting motion from the spindle as this is coming down. So when the spindle is coming down, it's going to pull on the axle, and I don't want the inner joint to come out of socket. Sometimes it's a difficult job trying to put it back. So I think it will also help in your case to remove the brakes, because it will make the spindle a lot lighter to handle. Maybe I should, I'm not sure yet, but I'm going to try to do it without it. And then if it becomes too difficult to handle at some point, then I'll just go ahead and do that, because I know this is all just stuck, and that's why I'm not even trying yet. Even to remove that wheel, you have to really use force and hammer taps to just kind of free it up because of all of the rust around here. So I can only imagine how stuck the brake rotor is right now. So let's just try that, and then we'll come back and see what's going on. Alright, so I removed the sway bar link, the ABS sensor, and the brake line is free. And I also removed the nut. The bolt, the 17 millimeter bolt here, 17 millimeter here, 17 millimeter there. I also removed the top bolts on the strut. One of them was actually missing, because you can see how rusted it is. Again, this car was in an accident. You see that bolt is rusted. There was nothing there, that stud. And then you have an access hole for the other ones right here. It will show. Anyhow, so there's a cover right up here. So once you remove that cover, you have access to all three fasteners there. So you can just remove them. So I had this thing jacked up under the control arm. So now I'm just gonna release it gently and monitor the CV axle, make sure it's not being pulled. If not, I'm just gonna jack it back up and remove the axle nut and push the CV axle out. But I need two hands just to be able to do this operation. So I'll get back. This is gonna be loud. If you're wearing headphones, please beware. So I'm just gonna take the hammer now, and I'm gonna tap onto the spindle to kind of give me separation here. Just watch. As you can see, it's separating. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to have enough by just tapping it down. And this is what I was referring to when I say I don't like this style of suspension design. It's just, there was nothing wrong with two bolts. Remove it, wiggle this thing out. But this one is, sometimes even I've had to release some of the control arm components just to make this thing drop all the way to where it kind of clears that. So it's just what it is. All right, let me go try to make it happen. You got the concept. All right, guys, so it's ready to come out. So as I was afraid of, I had to remove the spindle, because again, if you have a control arm like that's that's in decent shape, I guess, the bushings, they do not basically flex enough for you to, it takes a tremendous amount of force to be able to downforce to be able to push the steering knuckle assembly onto the control arm to clear that right there, because this is a long shaft that you have here to travel. So the easiest thing to do was to remove that. This was very stuck on there because I guess moisture got into it. You can see the traces of rust on it. So I guess moisture got in it. So you know, when moisture get inside there, and a little bit of in the ball joint, it could really kind of get fused in there. So it took me quite a while. I had to use that. I even felt like this was actually going to just get pulverized because it was extremely tight. But anyway, long story short, we're here now. So I just got one bolt holding this whole assembly together. I'm just going to release it from the top. I actually went back and put that one nut back on just to be able to do this. So now it's just free and clear. See, it's just one nut holding it together. All right, it's going to go and drop it down. I actually bought a factory part from Honda, and I'm going to take it actually to my friend's shop because it has a spring compressor, and then we're going to do the swap there, bring it back here, put everything back together, and yeah. And later on, of course, like I said before in the earlier video, this control arm needs to be replaced because one of the bushings is torn. That bushing right there, it's definitely torn, and as it is right now, it's not making any type of you know, it doesn't recoil when you brake, but I feel like it's not going to take long before it gets to that point. All right, what's going on? This is a Buick LeSabre 2001. I'm doing the axles. Passenger side straightforward, just the regulars, the usuals. Driver's side, a little bit more problems. For one, to get it out of there, there's not much space. I will suggest having a pry bar, but a pry bar that's actually straight, not something that is angled, just straight pry bar. You might get a good chance of trying to you know, pop this out. But anyway, to put the new one in, what I had to do is remove the strut. Why? Because the axle, because of the strut is so low up to here, it puts the axle at an angle. And even if you're trying to flex that inner joint to try to align it with the splines, it still is going at an angle. So it's not going to go, it's very difficult to try to do that. And you may even damage the splines. You may even damage the spline trying to force it. So eventually I had to remove the strut, which you see right there, so I can have a straight shot. And I positioned it, trying to wiggle it left and right, make sure it is engaged. Then I just tap it with the hammer, and there she goes. So if you're going to do this job, I would suggest to you, just go ahead and just take everything off, besides the ball joint there and the control arm. Just take everything else off. You know, don't even waste time or trying to try this way, that way. It's just going to frustrate you for no reason. You do this, you're probably out of here in half an hour. Wheel bearing. Now we got the new axle. Now the wheel bearing is very accessible. Those looks like 12 millimeters, maybe 13. Just take those 3 out. It should fall out. If it doesn't, we're going to take this big hammer. We're going to go at it right here, and she should be able to come off. Oh, then we still got to remove the connector. So I've been called here. Check out this Mercedes-Benz. Having some issues with no power steering, no. Basically, the light was on in the dash for the battery. So already coming here, I know something was wrong with the belt. This is some parts of it, but what I want you to see is that part right there of the belt. I mean, that is quite a scene right there on the alternator. I've never seen them like that before. So I think what happened was, because this was off when I came in, this was completely out of here. It was off. It's just, so you see all the liquid, all this fluid is just coolant. So that popped off. Coolant was spilling on top of the belts. I'm imagining. I'm not sure which came first, or the belt got loose and, you know, for some reason yanked this out of there. I'm not sure, because he didn't complain of an overheating situation. So I can only imagine. But this is just a. So what I'm doing right now, I got my knife, and I'm just gonna go cut through the because I can't even unravel it. So just cut through this thing, and hopefully I get to the bottom of it, and you know, get some get a new belt, get some fluid, and then install new belt and see where we go from there. So alright, she's done. New belt. I filled up the cooling system, just trying to make it trying to get to operating temperature right now. Check for leaks. Hopefully no leaks. This was sketchy. I mean the O-ring is completely shot on this thing, so, but I mean, we're in a Walmart parking lot right now. So right now, just trying to get the car out of here. And if there's further things to address, we'll do it in a little bit more private setting. You know, this is only for the emergency repair. The tensioner has a little bit of back and forth motion that I'm not necessarily fond of, but again, I'm just going to monitor this thing and hopefully, like I said, it stays, it behaves. Let me just kind of clean out some of the oil, I mean not oil, the coolant that used to be there, just so I don't get confused if there's any new developments, so we don't confuse nothing. So alright, make sure everything is dry, especially around this thing right here. So that's where I saw it first, it was completely out. Alright guys, let me see, make sure we don't have nothing dripping down there. Alright, this is from me pouring some of the coolant in that reservoir, but as you can see, it's all the way topped up. I had to use some water because I only have one bottle. So, but I think we're doing okay. Alright guys, that was a nightmare, by the way, to get the belt that was stuck behind the alternator pulley. That was something else. I literally spent an hour doing that. What is up guys? We got this 2012 where is it? Sienna. 2012 Toyota Sienna, believe it or not, has about 430,000 miles on it. So this was used in transportation, Uber or something like that, or even a taxi. So a lot of miles. Today we're gonna replace basically the front lower control arms, the strut assembly, front brakes, rotors and pads, and we're going to replace all studs and all lug nuts. Alright, so it's not going to be something that I can film because that's a lengthy job and I do not want to be stuck here. I do have other jobs to do today, so I want to make it as quick as possible. So I will just show you updates once, you know, compare old to new and whatnot, you know. I already have videos on my channels about doing the lower control arms on this type of car. They're the same ultimately. All of the Toyota, I believe from 2002, the lower control arm jobs pretty much the same. So you can reference some of the videos that I have on my channel. Especially, I have one particularly for the Sienna that I go over all steps, and then that's what it is. So obviously for the strut, you're gonna have to remove the cowling because you can't get access to the upper bolts, the one on the brace or on the bearing side, without removing that. So that's about it. So let's go ahead and start. All right, so this is where we at so far. I think I'm in it about an hour or less. So the strut is out. That's the easy part. Control arm is out. Once the strut is out, this is really easy because you know, you got all kinds of room. I have to, you know, of course, do it this way because you don't want to pull the axle, which was very weak, the inner joint, extremely weak. So I didn't want to take a chance with it. So I decided to remove the axle, but at least remove the spindle from the axle. And now, as you see, we got all kinds of room. This is my technique that I showed you in other videos on how to remove this side. I don't have to even remove the top mount, and it's not really being stressed at all. I jack up the engine really slightly. You can see it's not deformed or nothing like that. It still maintains its shape. It's just a little bit that I need. Okay, all right. Let me show you the part and the part numbers if you're interested. So we got some Monroes. This is for the strut. That's the part number for, I guess, this side. I think they're different from side to side. So this is the right side, passenger side. And as you can see, they do look alike. right there. Let me show you another control arm. This is for the passenger side. Sorry, I don't have the box. I got rid of the box for the driver's side, but the numbers usually go from maybe 35 to 36 or 35 to 34 for, you know, opposite sides. So, you know, more quality. Sometimes it's being funny, but in general, it's in my experience, pretty consistent with the quality. So, yeah. So let me go ahead and get going. A lot of things to get done here. Okay. So, no strut is in, no control arm in. Again, with this strut out, this control arm job is really nice. Spindle out, just a breathe. Anyway, now I'm gonna replace the studs, because as you can see, a lot of them mangled. The owner got a whole bunch of studs. It's a lot easier outside the car. You always got a slot on a Toyotas right here. You see that little groove? Okay, it's made specifically to change these things without having to change the whole hub. On the Hondas, you have to replace the hub. If you're trying to do it without replacing the hub, you can definitely mess yourself up there. You know. All right, let me just say one, just a good tap. That's it, just like that. Same thing here. Two hand will help, but you got the gist. All right, guys. So this one side is done now. New studs, new rotor, new pads from Toyota. You know, I grease everything. At least I usually like to grease the channel, not necessarily the back or not, just like the channels here, because that's what kind of moves in and out. So it makes sense to grease that part. Usually this is stuck on the back of the caliper. It doesn't have really, you know, movements. So then you have, of course, don't forget to install your spreaders. You won't focus, of course, but right there. Yeah. Side note: Toyota sells this cheaper than the store. Even if you don't have an account with them, this rotor costs about $89. You get it from the store $92. This is original rotor. Okay. If you have an account, it goes down to probably about $65. You know what I mean? So for anybody who has from 2011, I think, on to 17 or 18 or 19 of these cars, Sienna, this rotor, I don't know if it is a sale going on, but it's $89. It literally costs less than the auto store from the dealership. This is Toyota. Where's the box? Right here. Okay, just so you know. All right, so we're done. Everything is tight. Only this I need to tighten on a ground once I get some traction. I prefer to do that method because I don't want to jeopardize. Some people said that using the impact can do damage to the bearing over time. I'm not sure if it's true or not. I don't want to take a chance with somebody's customer's car. And also these ones, I prefer to be on the ground first before I go and actually make them really tight. And I want to tighten them with that or very light impact, not no heavy duty equipment anyway. You know, because this is a stud and you can literally pull it from where it's at. So we don't want to take a chance with it. Well, not pull it, but you can strip it. So we're moving to the next side now once I put the wheel back on. Since you're never too sure with parts, I was compare the two parts. So this is old one, new one. You should see, especially around here, the girth around here is very important. Not as important as that, honestly. I mean, this is more important than the length of it, the girth. Okay, make sure you got the right girth here, because if it is too small or too big, guess what? That's the wrong part. So the way we're gonna draw them in, because we can't tap them. You could probably do that, but it's a lot easier to just draw them in using an impact. So there's a specialty tool they sell. I don't have that tool. I usually use the old lug. Right here, this is the old one, because I have brand new ones, and this one, man, went and got, like I said, studs and nuts for the entire car. But I'm not taking the new ones. I'm taking the old ones to draw this one in. So we're gonna fit it in here. If you want to give it a slight love tap in the back to kind of help it out, that's fine. Actually, no. I gotta go get myself something bigger. Let's see about that. If this nut can fit, we'll use that nut. Sorry guys, one hand here. Sorry. Right, let me see if this will fit. If this will fit, I doubt it. But let's see. Alright, it does. Alright, so pretty much that. Okay, not the best, not the worst. I'm sure there's better methods, but it usually works. So now we're just gonna impact it in. I'm just gonna show you one because I need to get things stabilized around here. Right there. Look at it from the bottom. If you wanna put some lubricant there to help it, you can do that, but essentially this is a job. So you get the point now. I gotta hold on to this thing. So I don't want it to go all over the place. But sorry guys. Are you in the shop? Yeah. That's it. Alright, let me see now. Just make sure it's flush, and it is flush on our side, as you can tell. Alright, flush right there, and it's protruding all the way out. No damage on it. The way we're going to prove that, let me get one of the new nuts, and we're going to just throw a new nut on there right now to make sure we know that this threads is fine. Look at that. Oh, sorry. Easily threading all the way. And that's what you want. There you go. If you want, like I said, you can use some lubricant to help this process. It's optional in my case. Alright guys. Alright, so this is a Jeep Latitude. I don't know the year, but it was in a crash, and the sway bar itself is bent, especially on that side. It's making contact with the spring, as you can see. So now I'm trying to fix that up. So to get access to the upper bolt, because of this contraption here, whatever that is, that bracket, we need to be removed. So I thought it would probably bring down the subframe somewhat, but it doesn't affect the subframe. Smart design there. By Chrysler, you got two 13mm bolts. Let me see if I can give you a shot of that. Where am I? There's two 13mm bolts, and then a 15mm nut on the other side. I'll take care of that. I'm not sure the role of this bracket. What is it doing? I don't know. But it's there anyway. Then this 15. Let me do that. Let me put you guys over here if you can see. Then we'll be able to gain access to the upper bolt of the sway bar and remove it. I'm going to try to bend it back into shape. Save customer some money. Alright, so that's that. Now next I gotta remove this sway bar link on the side. I'm not sure what size that is. So let me go ahead and do that, and then we're gonna take off these two, what is it, 13 maybe also. That one and that one, and then we'll come back to you guys. Alright, so I got the sway bar off of there. Now I'm going to take out the two bolts on this side of the sway bar. The link is off. It's just under tension now because I need to jack up the car really, but I'm trying to do it the lazy way. Anyway, I just want to show you the shot. Let me go ahead and do it. Alright, bolts is out. Where are you? Oh boy. Alright, I got a bunch of my customers just arrived. My hands. Oh, shit. Here you have it. One side is straight and one side is crooked. So I'm just going to fix that up. Hopefully that's all we need to do. Alright guys, as you can see, I straightened it out as much as I could. Now there's a good clearance between this and that, and the bushing was pretty tight for some reason. I had to use a lot of lubricant and even a hammer to just kind of move the bushing along the bar there. So as you can see, everything is back together, and we have nice clearance now on this side, and nice clearance on the other side as well. So yeah, if you want to remove your sway bar, that's all you would do. Just remove that bracket right there, then you have access to the top bolt. Frankly speaking, you may not even have to jack up the car really, but yeah, not a big deal job, but yeah. All right, man. What up, guys? We have the motorcycle. So today I decided to come trying to diagnose this no start I mean, I started up the motorcycle a couple of days ago. It started, ran for about 2 minutes, and it just kind of sputtered and died. So I was suspecting maybe the fuel pump has some issues, because when I would have the motorcycle on the on position, like with the key, I didn't hear anything going on with the fuel pump. When I crank it, same thing. So I decided to just kind of investigate that. I don't have access to any type of wiring diagram or anything like that to do a, really correct diagnosis. So this is just me basically going through all the different phases. So you can see inside of there, I don't know if the camera is picking it up, but it's definitely full of fuel in this fuel filter right here. I'm pretty sure there's fuel at the end of this line. So anyway, a lot of crap to take out to kind of dig this one out. Once I did that, unplug the connector, then I have this side of the connector going to whatever power source it is. I don't have wiring diagram. I don't know if it's going back to whatever. Is it the relay? Is it something? But anyway, I want to see that I have power coming here when I turn this motorcycle into the on position. So that's connected to my meter right here. So now let's test it together. Insert the key in the ignition, and we're going to focus right here, right there. Let's do that. Right there. Battery is weak, but you can see we got about hold on, let me .61 millivolts. So I have basically no power really coming to this thing. Let's see if we're trying to start it. Okay, I see power. I see 2 volts trying to show up there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it off. I'm going to get some type of jumping instrument. Now, where's the key? All I'm looking for is voltage as I'm cranking. If I have voltage as I'm cranking, then my problem is the fuel pump. All right, we're on. About to go crank. What's going on? It doesn't want to crank anymore. Uh-oh. Is the starter giving up now too? Oh boy, that would be interesting. Hold on guys, let me check this. Alright, for some reason the starter is not engaging anymore. I mean, when I press it, you can see the light dim, so definitely something is happening there, but the starter is just not engaging anymore. Granted, I got 12 volts charging right now, but what I've done instead, I went directly to the pump and I apply power and ground, of course. I mean, it's 12 volts, I'm not sure, but nothing happens. I mean, it was kind of move earlier after I banged it a little bit, and I tried it, but now nothing. So I think this. I think it's done. Right there, nothing. Nothing. All right, so either way, I'll have to replace the pump. I'm not sure now if I have to replace the starter because it's really not doing anything now. So yeah, I'm not sure at this point, but at least I gotta go get a fuel pump. I think it's about $150. People do not recommend getting the aftermarket, so I want to put some Honda pump in it, but yeah, when I also replace the filter. Yeah. We'll see. Hopefully, like I said, I'm not just using the part scan on here. I would love to get power coming out there, but I think power is coming because when I cranked it, I did see 2 volts and the battery was really low. So I think that should be sufficient as a diagnostic to, so. Success! Man, oh man, oh man. So the fuel pump was definitely the problem. But in me trying to diagnose a fuel pump, I jumped it the wrong way and it blew the ignition fuse. So it wasn't starting, if you remember. And I thought maybe what's going on with the starter? Maybe the battery was weak. No, I jumped it the wrong way. I blew the ignition fuse. So now I got the aftermarket fuel pump on it. I will probably go get a better fuel pump, but this is what I wanted to do just to kind of proof of concept, make sure that my diagnosis is correct. And now I got to go to Honda, get myself a good pump to put on this this motorcycle. Now I'm going to check the charging voltage to see where I'm at, and then we'll conclude. All right, guys, we got a 2004 Toyota Camry. I did a few things on this car. I replaced the starter, and I replaced the fuel pressure regulator right there. It was leaking and the starter was bad. Diagnose it quickly, just get on the signal wire there. Crank it. If you got power going through it, you can do your voltage drops, and that's about it. Very quick job. Now the other complaint was there's a fuse for the tail lamps. They keep blowing up. Customer told me about it. He thought it was maybe a bad lamp or something, or light. Check the lights, check everything in the back, unplug everything, and the fuse was still blowing. So I decided to go check the wiring diagram. And found out that the marker lights on the front also in the same circuit. So needless to say, I just came back, opened up the hood, look around, and what do I see? Right there. Okay. So there goes my short right here. And I'm gonna go now and do some wiring repair in order to fix that. And I'll bring it back once I get ready.